Tonight, we are really excited to bring you a 5-year update to the strategic plan that we originally wrote, completed in 2011. And so, including the year of writing the plan coming forward, it's been 5 years since this board, or at least partially this board, charged us with the board's direction for universal choice, professional pay or pay for performance, and also measuring what matters most and having what we ended up calling a world-class instructional strategy for all students. And we see tonight as a celebration of a lot of talented teachers and leaders throughout our district, many on my team and their teams who have worked very hard over the past 5 years to not only shore up the foundations of every department in this district, because as you know, Douglas County is a district that was very small and then grew up very quickly over a period of years, was one of the fastest growing school districts in America for 10 years. And during that time, we were building schools and building infrastructure, but needed probably a little bit more time to look back and step out and build our foundation a bit stronger. And so we wanted to take the time during the last 5 years to make sure that we had a solid foundation on which to operate a $600 million organization. So I want to start tonight with this little video that celebrates where we've been and where we'd like to go.
Throughout the history of the world,
Oh, what's this?
Careful, that's hot. Ouch!
there have been those people
See, I told you the world is not flat.
that seem to be ahead of their time.
What could you possibly need my kite for?
Innovators, risk takers. They're called rebels, misfits, even crazy. They are smart, curious people, obliterating boundaries, pressing the edges. But in the end, they were right on. We celebrate these original thinkers. Like Steve Jobs said, because the ones who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Here at DCSD, we're intentional about raising the bar, inspiring the next generation of innovators and risk takers. We have students, teachers, and leaders who think different, take educated risks, and create the change we need. Right here in Douglas County, Colorado. Douglas County School District, reinventing American education.
So you'll remember in 2011, the board unanimously approved our first strategic plan. And even though safety was our number one priority in the school district, we didn't actually put it in the plan. It wasn't part of the 3 original goals. But we continued that work anyway. As we proceeded forward into 2014, we recognized that that absolutely is our number one priority in the district, and we wanted to be transparent about it in as much of a way as we could, given the nature of safety, and we put it in our new strategic plan.
Safety. Just a few years ago, there was no student tracking or bus accountability. Primary schools were protected with door buzzers. Today, GPS tracking systems help ensure safety. School staff has direct communications with first responders. The School Marshal program partners with local law authorities to help protect students and staff. And a new student advocacy officer proactively focuses on psychological safety.
In 2010, Douglas County looked a lot like most school districts in America. After the tragedy at Columbine High School in 1999, most high schools across the country put school resource officers in collaboration with their local law enforcement into their high schools. And beyond that, there were some building enhancements like door buzzers, but not much more. In 2009, our school radios couldn't communicate with first responders. And our psychological safety really was staff dependent, depending on the school that you were in and the expertise that happened to be located here. Again, in 2015, safety, psychological, physical, and online safety are the number one priority in the Douglas County School District.
There has been a deadly shooting at an elementary school in Newtown, Connecticut.
It changed our family, everything. I mean, it changed our world.
December 14th was horrific on many levels.
We do not know the gunman's identity or motive.
In moments, a gunman forced his way into Sandy Hook Elementary, shooting and killing 26 people, including 20 students.
And he walked up to Riken and pointed the gun in Riken's face. And for whatever reason, didn't pull the trigger, but turned to Miss Soto, shot Miss Soto then shot another little girl. In a way, I wish people could feel what we feel, because it would definitely change the culture, and it definitely would change the way we view security.
While there's nothing that they can do to reverse the needless loss of life.
Yeah, they were close friends, dear friends that we all lost in that day.
They are determined to avoid repeating history.
Every single day we went into that school in Sandy Hook, all of us, our entire family, security never crossed our mind.
They say parent involvement is crucial.
You need to be involved. You need to know. You need to understand. And you need to be looking out.
They are impressed by DCSD's safety plan, as well as the district's focus on continual improvement.
And I think that's what's great about Douglas County, is that they think that's a top priority for them, and they see it, evolving.
This ever-changing, layered approach to security is reassuring.
I actually ate lunch with a couple of my kiddos the other day, and I said, so tell me what you love best about second grade right now. And they love second grade because they're safe.
That's especially important for a family that has survived a tragedy.
So as you saw, 2012 really marked a fundamental change in how we approach safety as our #1 priority. The parents that you saw in that video, Dave and Carly Posey, happen to be, as you know, parents in our district, and we are greatly benefited by their presence, because there's something different about psychologically, intellectually knowing something about what our needs are for safety versus having somebody who's actually lived through that experience being in our district. Their presence really drives our profound sense of urgency in what we do and how we do it. Looking at the school, I can tell you that we have invested substantial time, resources, and energy and technology into enhancing this building and every building that we have in the school district. What we won't do is invite those would-be intruders to try to test our system. That's why, even though we have the safety protocols and the technology, we don't talk specifically about them, because we don't want to give away that advantage. But as you can also imagine, there is no singular strategy that can satisfy all our safety needs. And that's why we've always gone with the philosophy of a layered approach. Multiple layers of safety strategy that come together at the same time to create a better system. One of those is that we are a leader in integrating our program with a close partnership with our local law enforcement. And an example of that is our school marshal program. So our school marshal program consists of integration with 4 different jurisdictions, multiple officers that crisscross our entire district at different times. Not only do they patrol the outside of the schools, of our elementaries and our middle, but they come in and they have lunch, building that trust relationship with our children. Additionally, it creates unified best practice, and it also is a good example of different public partners in the same community leveraging their resources to help each other. Additionally, we can tap into quality training. Also, this increases our coordination with our partners. And finally, we can leverage the incredible wealth of experience that we have in our law enforcement community here. In the past, as the superintendent indicated, it was not possible for school and staff to respond directly to a first responder during an emergency. Thanks to a joint legislative effort supported by this board and by the superintendent, we now have legislation that makes that possible. So now, school and staff can communicate directly with first responders, making that effort a more effective one and saving time. In the past, in order to track effectively where our students were when they were on our buses, it was a very clumsy manual process. Now, today, we have GPS tracking, we have visual mapping, and our safety security team and our transportation team has 24/7 access to that information.
Thank you, Thomas. Now we strive to maximize psychological safety in addition to physical safety and online safety. Psychological safety, as I've talked about before, is the practice of minimizing the risk of injury to staff and student psychological well-being. To this end, we have unified best practice and training in our risk assessments. This includes our child abuse and neglect reporting, our suicide assessments, as well as our threat assessments. we've implemented a framework of psychological safety practices where we proactively and intentionally address bullying, suicide intervention, and school violence prevention. We do so in a blended model that engages students, staff, and families on a monthly basis. And lastly, in terms of psychological safety, we've also expanded our upstream prevention efforts with Team Up, who you can see here in the picture.
So it's 2015. Big corporations are hacked on a daily basis. Customer data is compromised, and we're all conditioned to accept that as the new reality. We believe student data is much more critical than any other customer data. To that end, student data safety is a key component of our online safety strategy. Securing our student data, training our staff and our teachers, having meaningful conversations with our parents and our community about data are all key focus in our ongoing safety strategy.
The second priority in our strategic plan since 2011 is choice. As you know, this board charged us in 2009 and 10, together with the Choice Task Force, to rethink the idea of universal choice for all students, to make sure that every single child and ultimately teacher is matched to the exact right learning environment for them, to empower parents to make the very best choices for their children and move those choices forward.
Choice. In the past, communications with charter schools was strained, and there were no tools for parents to navigate all of our schools. Today, parents are empowered with resources to choose the best schools for their children. Neighborhood schools and teachers are empowered to collaborate with students to create innovative learning environments, matching students with how they learn and teachers with how they teach. We have created a level playing field in the funding of our neighborhood and our charter schools, and have created strategic partnerships with charter schools to build where the district needs to meet the demands of growth.
In 2010, even though Douglas County was the first school district in Colorado to adopt a charter school of its own, charter school relationships and neighborhood school relationships were fairly strained. There was a lot of confusion about open enrollment processes and practices that put difficulties on both schools. In addition, the inequitable funding created a lot of challenges in the conversations in the community. Here you will see the build-out of all of the choices in the Douglas County School District prior to 2010, and there are quite a few different choices available. Later in this presentation, you'll actually see the future from the last 5 years, where there is even more choices than the previous years combined. Douglas County School District seeks to have a pioneering spirit in the realm of choice, really empowering every single family to find the exact right place for their child to maximize that child's potential.
In 2010 and the beginning of the strategic plan of 2011, we started with the belief, the vision of this board and the Choice Task Force that was formed, that we don't fear competition in Douglas County. We believe that it makes student outcomes better, it makes schools better. So we begin with a belief that our schools can compete with anyone, with any school in Colorado, with any school in the nation, and we don't fear that competition. And choice for parents. With our open enrollment since 2010, we have opened up an additional window to give parents that opportunity to find that best fit for their student in the district. We want to make sure that parents have an opportunity, an ample opportunity, to explore and identify that school that's going to make their student the most successful, that's going to meet their needs best. So we expanded that open enrollment window. We've empowered our neighborhood schools to explore unique ways, new ways of delivering our guaranteed and viable curriculum. We've allowed them to explore these and given them support in exploring these new ways. And we have in Douglas County now, because of this effort, we have Artful Learning at Meadowview, we have the Leader in Me at Acres Green, we have project-based learning at Clear Sky, we have STEM at Mountain Ridge, we have Mosaic at Castleview High School, a homegrown program. We've also continued to partner with our homeschool parents. Since 2010, we've implemented the Cloverleaf program, which provides enrichment opportunities for homeschool students to come into a school setting and obtain services and programs that they wouldn't have in their homes. And that's grown to 350 students. This year, for the first time, we're serving high school students with the Cloverleaf program. When funding truly follows a student, that creates a level playing field for that student's education, and that's a core belief of this district. What we've done in that area with our choice programs, particularly with charter schools, this district provides 100% of the per pupil revenue to charter schools students, and those charter school students share in the mill levy funds. The charters then have the choice of purchasing services from the district, and what we have done is take a very close look at the true cost of those services and reset those costs so that there is a level playing field. There's transparency about the true cost of those students. We get closer and closer to that nirvana of having the money truly follow the students in a transparent way and leveling the playing field for all students in the district. We have also aligned our charter application process to national best practices, but as always, we have the unique Douglas County quality uptick on what those national standards are. We have experts, some in this room, that review all of our charter applications for their quality. We also have external experts to take a look at our charter applications, because everyone knows that there is a different standard for Douglas County charter schools. It's a higher standard, and we meet those. We've also partnered with our charter schools in terms of providing efficiencies and getting a collaboration with them to locate their schools where we have capacity needs. In this way, we've been able to build schools without additional cost to the taxpayer, fulfilling those capacity needs. Examples of this are Aspen View and the Parker campus of American Academy. So through these collaborations, we've been able over the past 5 years to serve an additional 6,000 students without the additional cost to taxpayers of building new schools. So through these efforts, we've been able to accelerate the choices available to Douglas County parents over the last 5 years, both neighborhood schools, home schools, and charter schools. All of those choices are really great and great for students, but it's not a true choice unless families know that they exist. So the communication effort to get that information to parents has been a true focus of the district. Last year, we added choice fairs, which provided an opportunity for parents to connect directly with the schools and find out what those schools are about. They were a huge success. Let's take a look.
For the next 2 hours, parents venture from table to table, finding the best fit for their children.
Schooling, or are you looking at dual? We're the same child. Oh, we're the same child, the two houses.
Everybody's here. The neighborhood schools, the choice schools, the option schools, we're all here because we're all part of the district.
The goal of these fairs is to empower parents to find the best educational fit for their children by informing them about the different opportunities in the Douglas County School District.
I think this is a great program that gives us the opportunity to really talk to the school teachers and talk to the principals to see what the school is about. And I'm surprised to find out there's a lot of public schools along with charter schools that has their own specialization. And I'm excited that we have so many choices in Douglas County School.
I think it's great. There's tables for pretty much every school here, and we've had an opportunity to speak with people from those schools who are able to speak intelligently about the questions that we had for them.
I thought, oh, this is going to be a nightmare to get this started. But I was amazed at this round table that you have, and I was amazed that the school district allowed us to do it. The options, and just the portion I've heard, are unlimited. I mean, I'm just really shocked, to be honest.
Another resource that we have for connecting parents with all the options they have in Douglas County for the education of their child is our Office of Parent Liaison. Parent Liaison does many things, including Parent University, which provides classes for the community and for parents on subjects from school finance to school safety to psychological safety. They're in online safety. There are all kinds of classes that Parent University has, and the Parent Liaison also provides support for the school accountability committees. But one of the main jobs of our Parent Liaison office is to answer questions for parents related to all the choices that we have in Douglas County. It's helping them connect directly with the school to find out what is artful learning about. It's helping parents navigate the open enrollment process. It's helping parents find out what services are available for homeschool students. So there are a lot of resources available right in the Office of Parent Liaison to help parents find those choices. There are other communication efforts that the district is doing in order to make sure parents know as best we can what options are available, and Randy's going to talk a little more about those.
Thanks, Rob. As you know, communications is key, both the interpersonal communications that he mentioned with the parent liaison, as well as the rest of the way that we talk to our parent community throughout the district. When I first got here about 5 years ago, we had very few avenues to communicate with our parents. We had a newsletter that would go out weekly, we had an outdated website, and we had a TV station that was dark. Since then, we have worked hard to try to build more communication avenues. We heard from our parents that they wanted more information from us. They wanted to get more accurate, updated information of what was going on in the school district. So we worked to build as many communication avenues so that they could get it the way that they want to. Each of us uses communication a little bit differently. We might want it on our PC, or we might want it on our mobile device. All these different avenues help to leverage those devices. And we've gone further to try to make sure that we have reach. We obviously have a website that's very successful. We reach millions of people there. It's pretty basic. Most school districts have that. But we've gone further. We have telephone town halls that allow us to connect with thousands of parents in a single call, allowing them to ask questions directly to our superintendent and leaders, getting direct answers from them. Finally, we built out in the area of choice some tools that help out parents. We want to make sure that they have that accurate information about what's going inside of the school. And when you drive by a building, it's sometimes hard to tell what's going on inside, right? This tool is one that we're building right now and we'll have soon. It's called Empowered Choices. It's a school selector that will allow them to make choices based on the needs of their students so we can find the right fit for them. Furthermore, we've gone further than just the data that we could collect on our schools. We wanted to make sure that parents could get a taste of what it's like when you go into those buildings. Find out what it's like to spend a day in a classroom. Get an idea of the kinds of events and things that they find important at that school so that, again, we can find that right fit for our parents and students.
Next is our priority called WorldClass Education. Douglas County is a very fortunate district. We have an incredibly supportive community, parents, students, very talented staff all throughout the district, and we believe that with all of that comes great responsibility in our profession. So to that end, under WorldClass Education for every student, we seek to sort of carve the path forward in American education, what the future should be for all students as we start to rethink a profession that was invented during the Industrial Revolution.
WorldClass Education. In 2010, there was no district curriculum and limited student advocacy. Today, our new guaranteed and viable curriculum prepares our students for the future. WorldClass targets help our very best teachers, those that are engaging our students, by rewarding them with pay for performance. Professional development is available for all teachers to support them in their work. And new student advocacy programs are in place all over the district.
In 2010, Douglas County School District looked like most districts across America. Still during the No Child Left Behind era, most districts across America were really working hard to teach to their state tests, to make sure that their scores were as good as they could be so that the blue ribbons and all of the awards that a district could earn would come to their schools, because that's what everybody was focusing on. And our classrooms were not exempt from that. That's what our teachers were being asked to do, and that's not any different than any other school district. In addition, we didn't really have our own curriculum. As you know, Colorado is a local control state, one that empowers boards of education like yourself to set the curriculum for their students, believing that those closest to the students in the community have the best idea of the outcomes they need. We had no curriculum in this district in 2010, and we looked right to the state, likely because of the state tests, and taught toward textbooks, worksheets, and also the Colorado academic standards, with no local piece really in place.
Thank you, Dr. Fagan. Good evening. And there goes the PowerPoint. So 3 years ago, our teachers came together to build, create, design our guaranteed and viable curriculum. We needed to make sure that we had a curriculum that would ensure that our students were college, career, and citizenship ready. Our guaranteed and viable curriculum consists of 4 essential components: the world-class outcomes, the 4 C's, 21st century skills, and then, of course, content. Hundreds of teachers, again 3 years ago, came together. They looked at the Colorado academic standards and noticed in many areas that it was not rigorous enough for our students. So what they did was they bloomed them up. They used Bloom taxonomy and created outcomes at the top 2 levels of Bloom's, evaluate and create. They integrated them and they made them more global so that they could use them cross-disciplinary and in real-life authentic context. This is Bloom's taxonomy, and just to give you an idea of what our teachers did, here's a Colorado academic standard, 3rd grade social studies. Notice that it asks students to identify. That is at the lowest level of Bloom's. An example of a 3rd grade social studies world-class outcome asks students to appraise. That is at the top level of Bloom's. So the difference is we're having our kids think critically and be more rigorous about their outcomes. The 4 C's, those consist of critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration. And these are essential for our students to be future leaders. The 3rd component are 21st century skills. These are based on the work of Young Zhao and Tony Wagner and other experts. And these skills are also critical, and it's what our modern companies are asking of our workforce. And finally, our final component is content. We used to use content as this is what we would teach and what we would assess, but now we use it as a vehicle in order to teach all components of the guaranteed and viable curriculum. Also, I just wanted to add the guaranteed and viable curriculum, we tell our teachers, we tell our leaders, we tell our students, that is the goal for our students.
Thank you, Dana. Having a modern outcome-based curriculum, while great, is not all that our students need. It's when our teachers use the curriculum to personalize the learning experience to meet the unique needs of all of our learners. The result is an environment where all of our learners feel safe, valued, and connected in order to reach their highest potential. This practice truly illustrates the craft of teaching in Douglas County School District. With the high expectations of integrating a new curriculum, along with having to personalize learning for all of our students, the following video helped kick off our year this summer, and this is the mission that we charged our new teachers with this year.
Teachers joining us today. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to become a world-class educator in the Douglas County School District.
This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Good. Everyone go to the end. Everyone go to the very end. We're going to begin at measure 46. Repeat after me. Do you? accept this mission. All right, here we go. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, go.
So when I think of world-class outcomes, I think of understandings that we hope students will arrive at. On this journey, they're using lots of tools that we support them with. Content, 21st century skills, the 4 C's, and all of those meld together with that outcome that we're hoping for.
I think one of the biggest challenges of being an educator and striving to be a world-class educator is the amount of change that I had to go through. I had learned how to teach school, and I had learned that well. What I hadn't learned was how to let go and how to really let kids guide their own learning.
So this is one of our newest projects called 360. It's sort of a more rubber transparency car. So instead of a full-on crash with a regular car, we would have it bounce off, or it wouldn't do as much harm to the human. So it's a newer, safer way to drive.
You know, I learned about constructivist learning years ago and have really been interested in it my whole career. Our new efforts in the district right now are just exploding my thinking. To me, constructivist learning is when kids are experiencing their world with a community of other learners, and they're doing this by exploration, by communication, collaboration, and tons of reflection.
They're doing like the Eiffel Tower over there, and they're like building the stuff, so if they do like a lot of facts, then they will probably get a 3-star or a 4-star, and if they don't do any facts or something, they'll either get a 1-star or a 2-star. If you get a 1-star, then your project, you have to add more facts, and if you get a 4-star, then it's good. Guys, I thought this is going to be awesome. It's good. I know. About Wolf Girls, River, Shannon, Crystalier, Daisy.
What we try to do is to use the students' passion, the things that they're interested in, to make connections so that they understand that the things that they're learning in all of their other classes are relevant to their lives. So the aesthetics, the height, and the structure stability. Macy, tell us about your house.
Our creativity kind of went overboard-ish. Like, we didn't stay on the guidelines for a house.
I just got an idea. We make boats. This is our boat company.
Scratch the house. We're making a boat. We just got inspired to do something else. So we did.
You're on the clock. Go. Let me hear it. 1 minute. It's the only program of its kind at a regular high school in the state. We're going to talk about creativity and collaboration and critical thinking. We do that all the time on scenarios. These boys work together constantly to come up with solutions. Everything about being a firefighter or a fire student involves 21st century skills.
And here, we're taught to roll with the punches. Things can change on a moment's notice. You gotta work through it. I'm not a kid that likes to sit behind a desk. I did my ride-along Station 16s over off Santa Fe. That was a lot of fun.
I think the most important thing about what we're doing here in Douglas County is that we're preparing kids for adaptability to jobs that we may not even know about right now. What we find is that the old set of things that you thought you needed to know when you leave high school is changing too quickly. We can't buy a textbook that's going to teach you all these things. You have to create situations where kids are solving problems.
My project is a printer bot that is not confined by paper tray size or the size of the printer. It can go anywhere. It can print posters or be on the ground and print signs on the pavement. Some applications for this would be to paint like sports lines, like basketball court lines, to print road signs and road lines because that's a dangerous job because people are driving.
I think my advice is to teachers coming into Douglas County, go for it, enjoy it. It's a great district in terms of being allowed to try new things, so enjoy yourself and welcome.
A mentor teacher of mine once told me that 3 equals 33. 3 weeks of really getting to know your kids equals 33 weeks of a great rest of your school year, and I've taken that with me for 16 years of teaching.
First and foremost, again, remember that you're here for kids. And make sure that you're sharing your superpowers as well. You were hired in Douglas County because of the teacher you are, the innovation that you're bringing.
Go for it. just take the chances, take the risks, jump off the cliff. I think there's a great quote out there, something about I have to believe that the net will appear, and it will. The kids, if nothing else, the kids will build you a net.
You're going to go home some days and go, what the heck happened today? And what you have to realize is that your reflection as a teacher is the most important thing to growing as a teacher. And so reflecting on how the day went with any particular student, with a group of students, with a particular lesson that you did, reflect on it, learn from it, try again, move forward, revise, because that's exactly what we're asking the kids to do.
That we're really an enjoyable group of people, most of us, and a lot of us enjoy learning, and so kind of just to have fun with your job. And if you really have to love teaching, because the kids here, if you love teaching, will recognize it, and it'll just be a better learning experience for us.
So what does this look like in the classroom? In the new learning environment, the role of the teacher has shifted to facilitator and coach. It means now that teachers are capitalizing on students' interests and their passions and giving them purpose in their learning. You can see it in George Picconi's fire science class at Rock Canyon High School, where the end of the unit assessment is to actually put out a real fire or to don the ice gear and do an ice water rescue. Talk about relevance in your learning. Or it's the ProStart students at Thunder Ridge High School who this year catered the World Skiing Championships at Beaver Creek. Now that's a high-stakes assessment right there. Or it's in Bob MacArthur's science class, meteorology class at Highlands Ranch High School, where students launched weather balloons to collect and analyze real data to send to the National Weather Service. It's in Shawnee Fordham's biotech class, teaming up with sixth graders from Jenny Henry's class to design investigations to barcode plant and animal DNA. Some kids sequenced plants, some animals, and from this experience, they determined that there were some unknown plants in the Denver Botanical Gardens, and they also determined some different grades of sushi being served at restaurants in the local area. Or it's the sixth graders at Meadowview Elementary who analyzed the interdependence of rural, urban, and suburban neighborhoods and how they impact the overall community ecosystem using Minecraft. This is a time-lapse example of the world that they created in Minecraft to do that analysis. In all the cases I've shared with you just now, teachers collaborated with students to demonstrate mastery of the GVC using modern tools aligned to the unique needs and interests of our students. But don't just take it from me. Also listen to these amazing teachers.
There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to be able to take what it is that they've learned here and apply it to any part of their lives. It's a lasting lesson that has built a ton of character.
We want them to walk away knowing that if they have questions about the world, they have the power and the means to find out the answers for themselves.
Lisa and I also feel a great sense of pride for them, but as well as what we've been able to accomplish as teachers, because we recognize that this is the ultimate goal. To have them believe in themselves.
So to support this world-class education, we have powered our classrooms with world-class technology. What used to happen with pen, paper, pencils, sticky notes now happens with Google Docs, emails, Schoology, Edmodo, and this is just to name a few tools. The technology our students use in our classrooms today is at parity with what most world-class employers will provide in today's innovative workplaces, and that's something to be said. In 2012, we decided to allow our students to bring in their own devices into the classrooms. To support that strategy, we built one of the largest wireless networks on the Front Range. We deployed over 3,500 access points, so that's that little device up there, blanketing every square feet of our buildings with internet connectivity. This school year will be starting with 4 gigabits of bandwidth, which is twice of what we used last year. And we see this trend growing exponentially. It just keeps doubling up. So pop quiz. Name one public-private entity on the Front Range which you think supports 50,000 wireless devices on the network during the course of the day. I only know of one, Douglas County School Districts. So with an active fleet of 50,000 devices on our network, we see that our schools are marching towards a model where every kid has a device on them and all the time. To support that strategy, we envision we'll have to build a wireless network which potentially supports up to 120,000 devices in the near future. And I know the math doesn't add up, but we all know the kids in the future won't just have one device on them. They all carry 2 or 3 devices on them. We have, generally on a daily basis, we see up to 450,000 emails going across our network. These are emails coming in or going out. We see 20,000 documents created, shared amongst our staff, our students. We have 25 3D printers in our schools, and 3D printers just became commercially viable in the last year or so. We are working with about 50 buildings in reimagining the learning spaces. 2020 will be nothing like 2015, and we can't wait to enable the next generation.
Thank you, Gautam. In 2010, professional development was developed by the union, and it was offered through the professional development department. Classes were limited. It was more focused on skill blocks, which was very much aligned at times to reading, writing, math, and some of those courses and classes that are very closely associated with the state assessments. We also went through a major cut right before then, and a number of the classified staff development classes were cut. And as a result, what was left were very limited offerings. Most of them were more aligned to the specific job sets or skills that the classified staff needed, and or compliance types of courses. As we've transitioned to a world-class education, you saw evidence in that with the new teacher video. What we've tried to do is really think about new ways to learn, new ways to offer professional development. In many ways, it's like living on the edge, like the clip depicts. And it's creating new forms of learning that are multifaceted. Learning academies, different ways, whether it's live streaming, whether it's on-site training, but we have to be responsive to the different types of learnings. So today what we've done is we've linked classes to the skills that teachers and administrators need to create that 21st century learning environment that, again, you evidenced in the different clips and saw all the wonderful children doing those exciting projects. We've redesigned classes to make them more constructivist, and this is exactly what we did with the new teacher leadership, new teacher and new leader opportunity in late July. During those sessions, teachers and leaders had an opportunity to manipulate and really dig into the GVCs and think about a year-long progression and what those units might look like. In addition, shortly after that, we had what we called a Leadership Summit. And in the Leadership Summit, building leadership teams, along with the building leaders, over 600, came and had an opportunity to really be thoughtful about creating the goals for 2015, 2016, thinking about the current and desired state, and also thinking about the input, output, and impact. How can we really design and provide the professional development our staff needs in order to create those opportunities for kids?
Our schools right now are working on really developing what their filter is for the work that they are leading their schools through. So it really speaks to what they value in terms of student learning and the opportunities they want to provide their students.
When they talk about the skills necessary for citizens back then, or kids, or through education, I guess I would say what What stood out?
We were teaching them not to think, but to follow direction.
We want people to really think about why they're doing the things they're doing, because a lot of what we do in education is based on a 100-year-old model. And we went through that model, we were taught to do that model, and it's very challenging unless you actually take the time to step back and reflect on it, to actually move into the future and do things differently.
I think having teachers that are more traditional based look at things more of adaptive challenges rather than technical.
Change is absolutely not always easy. There's definitely challenges with that work. I believe that the work that's happening through Leadership Summit is supporting people to move forward at the paces that they are ready for.
The Leadership Summit provided those opportunities. Building leadership teams and the leaders had an opportunity to dive deeper and to start to put some of those pieces in place. Along with that, what you see is a slide of a few of the offerings that we are putting in place for this year. Over the last 2 years, we have worked to put together a progression of foundational classes for teachers and administrators because we know this is tough. We know it is hard. And what we've tried to do is design those courses so that as they work through them, they actually are developing the components so they have those higher level units when they come out on the other end. In addition, we've explored and had an opportunity to work across the system with other departments. We're looking at new opportunities to collaborate and to hook these into the learning opportunities for students as well. You'll notice up here opportunities in personalized learning, WorldClass Education, technology, assessment. These are just a few of the many classes that we are in the midst of providing to teachers. And again, a lot of this is based on their input and their suggestions because we really are trying to listen to them and make this as differentiated and as meaningful for them as we possibly can. In addition, one other thing that I'd like to note is that shortly after the time when the classified professional development was cut, Dr. Fagan put in place an advisory council, again because she wanted to listen to what people really needed. And through that council, Peggy Mueller and her team put together a series of different classes. They expanded offerings, and they really tried to design them so they were aligned to the skill sets to help these folks be more successful in their jobs, but also to provide that foundational structure that we need in our system.
We spent quite a lot of time there in WorldClass Education really showcasing our teachers and students because I think that the progress for them is really impressive. The things that they're doing today are really cutting edge in not just Douglas County but anywhere in education. Our final priority in our strategic plan has always been system performance. We know that accountability needs to be embraced in education because we didn't really embrace it that well prior to 2002. We did get the No Child Left Behind era, and we recognized that we were part of that if we wanted to see a new day for accountability, we needed to build the accountability systems that measured the right things the right way and also transmitted that information to our stakeholders.
System performance. Before, the focus was on state assessments and one salary schedule for all. Today, 92% of total expenditures is in direct support of the students. Professional pay is based on performance. And a new balanced assessment system supports teachers in developing quality assessments aligned to their modern instruction.
Thank you. As a result of No Child Left Behind, assessment became an event. Student performance was focused largely on the single state assessment that was coming out every spring. And little professional development was dedicated towards improving assessment practice, which has a huge impact on schools and classrooms. Today, our focus is on changing that and making assessment, instead of an event, making it a process, where every learning experience is an opportunity to give feedback to students, progress monitor on how they're doing, and also gather that body of evidence of student performance. We're dedicated and committed to measuring all aspects of the guaranteed and viable curriculum, not just the content that the state assessments measure. Now,
While we're still bound by state law to administer state-mandated assessments, we're pushing back, and we're working with legislators to empower teachers to create balanced assessment systems that provide teachers and students with actionable and timely information regarding true student performance on what matters most. We're creating systems like the assessment library and the quality calculator to assist teachers on creating high-quality assessments. We're implementing the new elementary progress report this year to provide real data on the 4 C's to parents, students, and to teachers. We are also looking at providing additional professional development like we're doing now regarding quality assessment practice and quality assessment development. Now we're going to show you a clip of what that looks like in the classroom.
Everyone in the group should get a chance to take pictures.
Oh, it's facing towards me. Since we already built it, we're going to first take a picture of that, and then we're going to take a piece off. Now we take off the trees. Take a picture of it, take one piece apart, take a picture of it, take one piece apart. If you want to build it again, you can go to there and look at one picture, and then you look at the other picture, look at the other picture, and look at the other picture. So you can know how to build it. Now take the foul poles.
This has been a really successful unit. The kids have worked really well together in terms of collaborating.
I like to work together with other people, and for me it's easier.
And for Mia, one of the sustainable lessons was one that she learned all about herself.
One of the things that I really learned was that if you think that you don't like something and you didn't try it out, then you need to try it out to see if you like it.
We've been able to, take an interest and implement it into something that we do every day, integrating it with the 4 C's and the world-class outcomes, and our kids are growing tremendously.
So in 2010, evaluations were vague. They did not set clear expectations and were largely based on the perception of the evaluator in the building. The evaluation was overly broad and did not contain the accountability needed for growth. As a result, Douglas County, like many other schools across the country, rated nearly 100% of their teachers as meet standard. Today, we believe in empowerment, setting clear expectations, holding people accountable, and empowering them to do their best. Therefore, our current evaluation system is rigorous. It's a criterion-referenced evaluation that contains 6 standards, 5 that align directly to skills and behaviors that are best for students, and 1 that is based entirely on data. The system is comprehensive and offers more checks and balances than other systems of its kind. Finally, the system is differentiated into over 20 different versions, as we believe that an evaluation and what we're asking employees to do must align. World-class targets were created by teachers for teachers, and they're rated by teachers. This bonus program is designed to compensate those highly effective teachers and also give them an additional professional pathway to enhance their own practice. So with new curriculum, new assessments, and a new evaluation system, we knew we needed a system to align all of this work. A system was not available. So in true Douglas County fashion, we designed our own, inspired innovation. This system allows our teachers as well as our leaders to align their work with the evaluation system in a manner that provides feedback that is both immediate and impactful.
Much like having the first charter school in Colorado, Douglas County also had the first pay-for-performance system in 1994. It asked our teachers to fill out master teacher portfolios, and those portfolios were evaluated, and then they received performance pay. We also were using the step and lane salary schedule, which is the one I was used to when I was a teacher. You see the years of service on the left and the master's and degree and all the other degrees on the top. And at the time, it was really assumed that those were important indicators of the quality of a teacher. Since that time, research has shown that they may or may not have any impact on students in the classroom at all. And so we've moved forward with a new salary band model, market-based pay model, where we have figured out the supply and demand of the marketplace about each and every position in our district that is certified. We've done this for classified for a long time. They didn't have a salary schedule. But for our certified staff, we know how many of these positions have hundreds of applications and how many of them have 5 applications, quality applications. And when there is a big difference in the marketplace, we know that we must attract the very best to our school district for our students. Therefore, the people in the band 45 have the highest salaries of all the different bands because they are the most difficult to get the highest quality candidates. We know that the talent pool is shrinking in education, and we know that the number one factor of a teacher is the most important thing in a student, only second to the leader. The leader is second. And so we want to make sure that the best and brightest are attracted to our district through market-based pay. From there, we want to make sure that great employees, talented employees know that their pay increases are in their hands. So we've created a performance pay system where they use their evaluations to inform their pay increases. You'll see here that we have across the top highly effective, effective, partially effective, and ineffective, and the various raises we've given during the last 2 years. They varied last year and the year before. On this side, you'll see that we have range position. That's because there were 4 years of pay freeze in this district and almost every other. And during that time, employees were hired in and created gaps and overlaps in the system. We want to make sure that we start to migrate people to their appropriate place on the pay system using this methodology. So, for example, a highly effective teacher who's in the first third, meaning they're low paid in their range, will receive the highest raise in the district. And a partially effective teacher who is in the third or the highest area of pay in their market range will receive the lowest pay in the district. As you can see, this has worked very well for us as we've retained 94% of highly effective teachers and 90% of effective teachers last year. In September, HR will bring us the new data for the current year. Well, actually the past year. We also removed the cap for all highly effective teachers, and as you could see on the salary schedule from the previous time, there was this dark black bar that ran along the bottom, indicating that there's a cap, and it's matched up with your degree, not your performance.
When it comes to system performance, we can't forget the business operations of the school district. When we arrived in Douglas County in 2010, our business services operations and our human resources operations looked like this, a very large bowl of spaghetti. Since that time, and over the last 18 months, we've had an opportunity, our finance department has had an opportunity to collaborate with human resources to bring in a new enterprise resource planning system or a new business services software to be able to enhance and improve how we account for employees, improve our reporting, all of those things. So we get real-time data, better analysis, more transparency. We have our teachers and our employees going out daily now to look at how they're set up and what their data looks like. We have an ability to report seamlessly on what is our average salary, how many positions do we have, how many positions does each person have in our school system. And in addition, we're automating over 3,000 transactions a month. I know I've been before you talking about the fact that we have had paper-driven processes much in the past, where we start a change of status out at a school, and then it takes 2 days to get from there to human resources, and then it takes another day to get over to payroll to transact all of that. Workday has given us an opportunity to have all of that happen very quickly. So, not to further talk about the business processes and the importance of system performance in my realm, remember that in 2010, we were a school district that was largely like these very well-known companies: OtterBox, Anytime Fitness, GoPro, and Wingstop. We had revenue of nearly $600 million. We had employees, nearly 7,000 employees back in 2010. There were more than 80 divisions and capital assets of nearly $700 million. At the time, though, in June of 2010, our employees had seen spending cuts and no raises. The employees were in their second year of pay freezes, and both of these amounted to over $32 million. In addition, the 3 major fund reserves were fully depleted. The general fund, if we hadn't had the letter of credit, if we had to account for our TABOR as well as account for the school districts, the schools carryover, they would have reported a negative fund balance in our general fund. The Nutrition Services Fund, a major federal fund that operates in the neighborhood of $8 million to $10 million. At the time, if we had to account for the loan that was due from the general fund, they would have had to report a negative $1.4 million. The medical fund. I wanted to remind you all that the school district has had a self-insured medical fund for many years. This fund operates about $35 to $38 million every year. At the time, the fund balance was reported at $4,760. This was in June of 2010, and this was after a $2.6 million transfer from the general fund. I had mentioned that the general fund reserves were depleted. At that point, staff procured a letter of credit to be able to access the dollars needed to meet the TABOR requirement. That letter of credit gave them access to about $12.4 million. That did not come cheaply, however. At the time, they were required to budget an additional $170,000 out of the general fund budget in order to access that credit. In addition, the medical fund, I indicated that it ended in a balance of $4,760. Well, during the time of 2008 to 2010, $1.2 million was spent over 3 years on a medical fund consultant as well as a pedometer program. Both of these items were procured without a bid process. The district's bid process indicated that any spend over $25,000 would require a bid. And in addition, the Board of Education did not approve this spend, and the board policy indicates that any spend over $750,000 should be approved by the Board of Education. Cash management and grants. There was an investment loss in 2007 that was wrote off of $1 million. In September of 2011, it came to light that that was fraudulent activity. The bank contacted us and said, "Hey, we found your $1 million. We got it back." General ledger cash not reconciled. This was back in 10-11. When I was going through the books, I'd see that, well, there's an extra $3 million in the bond debt service that really belonged to the general fund cash that was not reconciled. And finally, and I think you all remember this, at the end of 2010-11, we received an audit finding from the Department of Ed indicating that we had to pay back $2.2 million for maintenance of effort purposes for IDEA. At that time, we went back through the books, realized that we did have that spend, and we were able to reduce that down to $8,600. Budgets overstated. Again, I indicated that the school district was in really difficult times and had undergone numerous cuts and pay freezes for a couple of years. So there was $0 in raises, saving $10 million, spending cuts of almost $23 million, and yet the fund grant balance grew more than $25 million. Same thing, in 2011, the budget was developed. I wanted to remind you, the budget is developed in the spring of the prior year, so it was developed in the spring of 2010. $23 million of additional budget reductions were called for, as well as almost $4 million in additional fees being asked for of our parents. But at the end of that year, the fund balance grew again by another $20 million. Audit issues, going through these quickly. Misstatement of nutrition services. I indicated to you before that our nutrition services fund was already negative. And there was an $800,000 plug placed into our Oracle software for inventory purposes that was found in 2010. It was a non-reconciliation of capital assets for 3 years running, from 2008, 2009, 2010. That was not completed. That was a $3 million reconciliation issue. And finally, in 2007, there was an understatement of capital asset construction in progress that resulted in an understatement of the district's value by $27 million, resulting from a $60 million plug number placed in an off-ledger spreadsheet that was used to calculate what our capital asset value was worth. I wanted to be clear, the $27 million is not real cash. The school district it's our capital asset value in the school system. So today, since that time, We have corrected all the audit issues, all the cash management processes, put into place very clear process for accounting for the maintenance of effort and IDEA spend, including collaboration with our charter schools. They also participate in our maintenance of effort for special education. We've created concise budget processes over the years. We've created concise budget processes that include narrowing that budget to actual, so that we don't have that huge discrepancy between what was budgeted and what our actual spend was. In addition, we've created a carryover tool for our schools to have them better forecast their carryover dollars, assisting them to plan for the next year. And we've been able to actually provide those carryover dollars as early as September, making it very useful for our schools. And finally, as you know, due to our fund balance policy, we have made a commitment that we will not spend dollars until they are realized. So where are we today? Tabor Reserve is $15 million in cash. Board Reserve, $15 million plus $5 million contingency budget. All of these are held in cash. The medical fund, we have a medical fund reserving policy. Our target is an $8 million fund balance. We've been so successful with our medical fund that in 2015-16, the current year, we were able to absorb all of the employee plus dependent coverages increases in premium. And I wanted to be clear, back in 9-10, staff made a recommendation that we should initiate a new plan that would call for a $10,000 family deductible for our employees that chose it. We quickly eliminated that plan and offered another much affordable PPO plan, allowing again another choice for our employees in their best interests. And then finally, nutrition services is well out of debt, and their fund balance is just over $3 million. Again, we have worked very hard over the last 4 years to continue to strengthen our AA+ credit rating, and because of that, we have been able to save the taxpayer more than $15 million over the last 5 years in general obligation bond debt. We were able to partner, as both Dr. Fagan and Rob indicated earlier, that we partnered with Aspen View and American Academy, providing 1,400 seats in total in both of those school facilities, saving our taxpayer more than $40 million in providing classrooms and classroom seats. And finally, just a reminder, we're the lowest funded school district in the Front Range, but we are the highest performing. And to tell you more about that, I'm going to hand it back over to Matt.
Okay, we're going to turn our attention to some data points and some points of pride. The first one is the accredited with distinction. We got this last year. We were awarded this by the state according to their accountability system. We're the largest district in the state that has that distinction. Although state assessments aren't our focus, we continue to perform very well on these assessments and really outperform the state in pretty much every indicator. This is the CMAS for the spring for science and social studies. So I'll show the social studies in just a minute. The blue on there is the district and the red is the state. And as you go across the graph, the far column on the left is the lowest performing rating according to that assessment. And you move to the right, it's the highest performing. So you can think of it as a 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can see that the bar that is for our district continues to grow as you move from right to left in terms of how it's compared to the state. This is the second year of having CMAS data. So in order to have comparable data over time, we live in very interesting times right now because we're transitioning to a new assessment. So we're going to be looking at comparable data more than likely next year when we have the third data set in order to be able to do that. One piece of data is the READ Act. We have READ Act data. This last spring we had 1,626 students that were identified as having a READ plan, which means they had a significant reading deficiency in math, which is approximately 8% of our K through 3 students. If you turn that percentage around, that means 92% of our students do not, which is a very positive number. Our graduation rate, if you compare between 2009 and 2014, we've moved up to almost 89%. You couple that with the fact that our student population continues to grow, so we have an increased percentage of kids that are graduated and an increased number of students that are attending our schools, which is a dramatic increase. For the class of 2015, speaking of graduation, they, as a sum total, earned nearly $65 million in scholarships, including some of the most prestigious scholarships around. I have a few of them listed here. National Merit, both the scholars and semifinalists, Daniels and Betcher scholars. Composite score. If you look at our composite score over the last few years, we've continued to grow. This last year, in 2014, we were at 22.1. 22 is a pretty significant number for two reasons. One, it gets most kids into that realm of being accepted in most traditional schools around that number. It also changes our accreditation rating within the accountability system. So 22 is an important number. Concurrent enrollment has increased dramatically from 2010 to 2015. Which has gone from a little over 4,000 to over 12,000, which sum total, if you look at the savings to our parents because it's concurrent enrollment, that's $4.8 million, a little bit over 4.8. It's saving our parents by students earning college credits in our classrooms in high school. We've been named twice to the AP Honor Roll. The AP Honor Roll encompasses two facts: the number of students who are taking advantage of AP classes, as well as their overall performance on the AP exams themselves. We have some other indicators here. This is from Money Magazine. Money Magazine had listed Castle Rock as the number 4 best places to live in the United States, and they specifically cited the school district as one of the factors for that rating. Movoto, the real estate group, had ranked the county as number 2 of all counties in the country, and one of the factors that they listed in their ratings was the high graduation rate. Healthy Links, they had certified us as a healthy business partner for our strategies on providing innovative ways to promote health and safety with our employees. All of these data points are nice. They're nice data points, and they provide us kind of a body of evidence, and we have more. But the true measure of our success really lives in the classroom. It's what happens every day within our classroom and the work that our students and teachers do. So with that, we'll...
In the Douglas County School District, our focus is on students.
Not everyone wants that kind of power.
Every day, our staff works tirelessly to provide a world-class education.
WorldClass Education for me is preparing those students for not just 3rd grade or 4th grade, but preparing them for life.
Chelsea has the ball.
In an environment that is safe, both physically and psychologically.
Watch your step here, guys.
We are focused on helping our students reach rigorous outcomes through sustainable learning. 3, 2, 1. Learning that sticks, while ensuring that the unique needs of all of our learners are met.
When you know the heart and soul of a kid, and when that learning is individualized, and when they have passion for what they're doing, the sky's the limit.
In whichever learning environment works best for them, with technology that matches what they'll use in the real world. The result? You can feel the energy when you walk into our classrooms.
Go forward!
Because students have a voice and choice in their learning.
Get to use your imagination and have fun.
It's their classroom.
The kids own the room, and I think that has been my biggest eureka.
So naturally, they get to design the way it functions.
Instead of just sitting in our seats and doing work the whole day, we get to move around and collaborate with other kids.
We don't do the same thing every day. We do different things often, and it keeps the kids engaged. It's exciting, it's creative, it's innovative. It uses technology. It's the new way of learning.
As the years have progressed, I've seen what a difference having flexible spacing in your classroom, having flexible learning areas, being hands-on has made such a huge impact in my students.
You figure it out yourself instead of the teacher explaining it step by step.
They are also empowered to focus on subject matter that they're passionate about.
This one has math involved in it. Yes!
We can follow our passions and we can turn it into something that really matters to us.
I think highlighting the strengths and allowing them to involve their passions and celebrate what they're strong in really teaches them a valuable lesson about what they can contribute and make a difference in the world.
They choose how to showcase their learning.
4, 3, 2, 1. Tornado!
Their learning means something and they're more engaged because it matters.
Whether that's through painting, writing code,
Once I get a little bit in, I'm gonna play it and see what it does.
or building contraptions. Elementary and high school students even collaborate on cutting-edge DNA sequencing.
You guys are rock stars.
Nice job.
We don't need standardized tests to tell us how our kids are doing. Our kids show us daily, evaluating their own work.
Analyzing their own writing. They're looking at their strengths and they're looking at the next thing to do. What are you going to do in your writing next time that you didn't do this time?
Period.
So there's a lot of freedom in that.
And engaging in real-world activities, like jumping into an icy lake for a rescue.
It's not sitting behind a desk. This is a challenging environment for them, and these kids rose to the challenge.
3, 2, 1.
Launching weather balloons high into the stratosphere.
Way up there now.
We're doing real meteorological science. I mean, we could send our data into the National Weather Service and it would be used as valuable data.
Making a difference in the life of another student through robotics.
As you can tell, our project just wasn't a walk in the park. It was filled with times of utter frustration to the point that we wanted just to throw in the towel, but we knew we couldn't. We just couldn't give up on Reese with just these small problems.
By removing limitations and providing flexibility to our teachers, our students defy all expectations.
I think people tend to rise and fall to the expectations we have of them, and when we have high expectations of our kids and expect them to behave certain ways, I think they live up to that.
More and more of our educators are accepting the invitation to think different.
What school means to them is changing, and that's exciting.
To take educated risks.
I think you have to try new things.
To change the world. A new picture of innovation is coming together. Douglas County School District, reinventing American education.